Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to the Women Who Rock with Success show, a digital media for professional and entrepreneurial women. Women are profiled on our digital platforms for branding and networking opportunities. To advertise on one of our shows, just go to our website at www.womenwhorockwithsuccess.com and submit a request on our advertising page. Did you know that we also report stories with top-notch media communications? Editors and reporters can submit credible and validated stories to our media source. Just go to www.topnotchmedia.org. Women Who Rock with Success continues to brand women and their profiles. Women Who Rock with Success is coming soon to Apple TV. You can also find us on Google Play, Roku TV, iHeartRadio, and other digital media sources. The show will begin in a moment with your host, Mrs. Diane Winbush.
And good morning and welcome to Women Who Rock with Success. And we're so delighted that you tuned in with us on today. And we're going to be finishing up on our prison reform case studies that we have been doing all the month of November. And so we have had some very exceptional guests that have appeared on the podcast to be able to bring you information. And so the information is for all of us to be able to be abreast of what is going on and for us to be able to utilize it. So we are bringing back a guest that was on the show earlier in the month, and it is none other than Miss Sheila A. Murphy. And so welcome back to the show, Sheila. Good morning.
Hi, this is Sheila. Good morning.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good morning. A few little technical difficulties, but we're going to keep it moving.
That's right. There you go. Positive state of mind. So
That's
for
right.
the listeners for the listeners that had just tuned in for today, and this may be their first time tuning in versus the first segment that you had done with us at the previous week. And so just give them a little bit, like a retract history about a little bit about what you do and the purpose of a mission to mobilization.
Sure. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank your listeners. So I am the CEO, Chief Mobilizer for Mission to Mobilization, and we're focused on using workshops in the media and community networks to reduce judgment, to increase margins, and then influence laws discriminating against returning citizens, what we call returning citizens. Many people call ex-offenders or convicts, ex-cons, things like that. And we use primarily four tags or taglines or streams of work to do what we're doing. So the Buy For Returning Citizen campaign, helping people look at where they shop, and the Friendly Congregations. We have a Walk a Month workshop that helps people to experience what it feels like to be a returning citizen in our community. And then we host a podcast called Mission Possible that looks at hearing remarkable stories around returning citizens that are doing just phenomenal work in the community, as well as their community members that speak on their behalf.
Absolutely, because I feel that we need to do more. All of us. I look for organizations to just pop up like popcorn to be able to address the issue in regards to prison reformation. And of course, it's not to the fact that we're here to say that people don't do things that are wrong or that are incorrect. It's the issue about the justice. I mean, how outrageous the sentencing is, and then also to be able to help them where they are to be able to rebuild their lives, because they're men and they're women. And I think also in the communications division, they are looking for different ways of how to address them. You know, people have gotten away from the words convict, you know, and I think I was in a court proceeding the other day, and so first she called the person Mr., and then the prosecutor went back and called the offender inmate. And so we have to be able to give people respect. You know, we have to learn how to come from these. And I right there and there, I went into a frenzy. I really did. I'm like, boy, I'm thankful that I am saved. Okay.
Well, it's so true, and you're really raising a great point around our work, and what really differentiates us from a lot of what they call reentry is that we are targeting the community at large. So we want to help change the way people see returning citizens. And so we believe that when you change the way somebody thinks about returning citizens, their behavior is going to change. So to the point that you just made, instead of calling a person an inmate, or calling them an ex-con, that we are looking at, this is a returning citizen. This is Mr. Jones. This is Mrs. Washington. And so they do deserve the respect. And we should, as a nation, all should be given, the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so that is it's critical, even as I think about the 13th Amendment and how that's one of the goals that we have in terms of amending that 13th Amendment. So thank you for even bringing that to the light.
Because I think that we have to, as I stated before, we have to be kind of careful, and sometimes individuals, it kind of, puts the individual, the person is already going through something, okay? We're not the judge and things, and the person is already going through, and so I feel that harsh names and what have you can cause individuals' self-esteem to be lowered. And so, as I stated, the prosecutor, I think she started off with, calling the individual Mr., and then she recanted her words and then began to refer to him as inmate. And so, it don't take anything for us just to be kind and to be nice. So, on to the next question. This is something that we touched on a little bit, but it was something that I saw even I think a couple of days ago, and so this is also in regards to outrageous sentencing. And so what happened was a gentleman here in the state of Tennessee, he was found guilty or what have you, or not guilty, but he was, I guess, caught or something like that for TennCare fraud. And so that's like an insurance supplement for low-income families. And I think it was beyond $10,000 or something like that. It was for him and his children. Okay. So the case has not actually resided as of yet, but they are looking to give this man, this poor man, it's still poor because the sentencing does not match the crime, he's facing up to 27 years in prison just because of TennCare fraud. And so we wanted to address that again, as to why a government is using these sentencing guidelines to be able to maintain citizens behind the prison doors.
And Diane, the bottom line is it's financially favorable, for them to incarcerate and to sentence at that level. And so every approximately it's about $45,000 per inmate per year to incarcerate someone. So if you if we do the math, then we're looking at 27 years times $45,000 is what is the benefit for that one individual. And currently we have 2.3 million individuals incarcerated at this time. And it really brings me to another thought. I had been thinking about this issue around the 8 million adults that are under adult correctional supervision. And so what people don't realize that they can be incarcerated in actual prison facility, but then they can be released and then under home monitoring. So they are still incarcerated in their homes, and there are dollars attached to that as well. And so there is the underlining issue really is it is financial, and it is very lucrative for us to incarcerate at the rate that we do.
Wow, that's interesting, because I was not aware that a person that the money trail still continues to follow the individual, even if they are sentenced to probation, and then they have to be able to excuse me, it's like a home halfway house, I guess I would like to use that phrase and what have you. I was not aware that the money trail still continues to, but it does make sense, because probation officers are still having to go out to be able to meet with the individual at their home or at their private leisure, I guess I want to be able to say. But it's when I saw that a couple of days ago in regards to the TennCare fraud case, I thought that was totally outrageous, and it's just something that
and it's happening on a regular basis. I mean that's the thing. The frustration that you're feeling. We should say times 10,000. I mean, because it is even when we think about a lot of the what they call lower level drug crimes. Where individuals had small amounts of marijuana. And, we're given 10, 15, some 20 and 30 years for possession. And so we know that this has been the history of this country, and the U.S. incarcerates more individuals than any other country in the world. And, I was, which is, it's saddening. And
it is.
The other, it was a number of years ago, but I took my nieces to the zoo, and you can just see them. Their eyes are big. They're excited. They got the little pigtails. They're ready. We're going through, and we get to one of the lion cage, and then there was where they had some monkeys and bears, and the girls they paused, and they said, "Aunt Sheila, they're so sad." And I looked at them, and I was thinking that they were so sad, caged up. And Diane, I'm telling you, that image came back to me as I thought about what has happened with our men and women that not only are incarcerated at a high rate behind physical bars, but incarceration in our communities. How when we look at the psychological damage that has happened, that is happening slowly over time for these men and women that are dealing with these what we call collateral consequences. So they're discriminated against for housing, for employment, for vote, have lost their voting rights in most of the states across the nation. There is a numbing, a psychological numbing that has happened, and our work is really to help people like ourselves that have not been incarcerated, they're not in jail, that may not even have anyone that not have been associated with any of this, to be able to recognize how this depression is impacting us as a nation.
Absolutely, because it seems like it seems like the guidelines continue to increase, and it also
Mhm.
appears that it's just whatever you hear in regards to any type of offense on the television, on the news, whatever it is, it always seems like that the guidelines has been increased 2, 3, 4, 50%, and I'm just trying to kind of get a handle as to I'm pretty sure I understand why, but is when do they make these changes? When do they make these suggestions? When is it that do they feel that they have to consider to increase and the crimes that need the little extra added security on
Sentence.
it? Those are the ones that are way down there, and so that's the reason why you know facilities do have. I worked at a facility where they had an education platform for the offenders and what have you, and they had a graduation program and things like that. But I do not remember seeing any of them returning. And I stayed there for about almost 10 years at the facility.
Mm.
But the ones that went in to get the education and wanted to be able to do a little bit more, I really didn't see them return. But there were others that had the option to do it, and they were laying in the bed and did not even move. But we're not even talking about that. We're just talking about how this issue has increased and how they have increased the laws for individuals. So I'm thinking before long, if they go in there and drop a piece of chewing gum on the ground, that's going to be 10 years off the bat.
Well, really, it can go back to the Jim Crow, the time of Jim Crow, where it was any little thing that we are incarcerating folks, or even worse, we're killing people for nothing. And it reminds me of our earlier conversation earlier in the month when you were talking about the judge that was so angry and being able to make those kind of decisions. And a lot of the judges, like for instance, with the three strike rule, takes the judgment from the judge, or the discernment away from the judge to be able to say what they believe the sentence should be, and that has incarcerated a number of individuals as well, because as soon as if they get a third strike, no matter how small the crime could be considered, then they're going to get a life sentence, which is 20 plus years. And so one of the things that you had asked about is, are there organizations that can that support either someone that is going to trial? And there's a couple that I wanted to let your audience know about. The first one is, it's mainly for youth, but the CASA, that's the court appointed special advocates, and for people that may be interested, they can contact them to see what they also have for adults, and so they can go in and be able to support on a national level. And then on a local level, or local to Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Maryland, there is an organization that's led by a young returning citizen, a young lady, returning citizen. Her name is Kiana Johnson, Life After Release, and she has an organization called Participatory Defense, and that allows individuals to go into the courtroom with the accused to be able to provide support for them in the process.
Oh, wow. So the judge will allow it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay. Because people need information. They need resources. They need to know how to, track things and what have you. And then, which brings me to the next question in regards that we were discussing about the former judge. Of course, he's retired as of now. But in your own terms of what we have discussed about him, why is it, do you feel that not just the justice system, but us as citizens too, because I'm pretty sure that the justice system knew of it, But why is it that people set blatantly and just do not address things like that? I don't know if it's the fear that they have about coming up against a judge or accusing a judge or what have you. But if I think the guy had been sitting on the platform for about 40 years, I'm not for sure as to when this issue occurred with his daughter and what have you. But I know that it had went on for some years because the offenders had addressed it. We already know we finna get in trouble. Miss Winbush, when we go in this courtroom, I know he gonna throw the book at me because of what happened with his own daughter. Why is it do people set aside knowing that wrong is being committed and we don't say anything?
Well, I mean, and this is my opinion, but I believe that there really maybe are three factors. One,
Okay.
and you touched on it, is fear, that we really are.
Okay.
We're afraid of the judicial system. We don't want to have anything to do with it. If it's not broke for us, then we're not going to fix it, and we're not going to be engaged. And so I think that's one piece. The second is there is, from a marketing standpoint, we have psychologically manipulated the people, the American people. People they believe that criminals and the whole criminality environment is something that should be tucked away. They don't want to have to look at it. We as a nation do not want to be uncomfortable, and we don't want to feel anything bad. We don't even want to hear bad news. And so when it comes to returning citizens or inmates, just this whole prison reform, we don't want to talk about it. And we have been marketed to in a way that you see someone that's negative, a criminal, whatever they give the description of him or her on the news, and then those people are locked up because we don't want to see those kinds of people, and we're not going to deal with them. They're not going to be around our children. And then thirdly, honestly, we're very selfish. We are focused on ourselves. We want immediate gratification, and everything that primarily, I mean, I don't want to speak in absolute terms, but in general, we want what we want, and we want it now and for us. And so, if that means that that the individual has to go outside of their comfort zone, that they have to drive an hour to go to a prison to visit someone, if they have to take 1 hour out of their week to mentor someone, then they're going to they're not going to do it because they don't want to have to make any type of sacrifices. And so that's one of the reasons why we really push and have launched our Friendly Congregations initiative, because we believe the church is one of the places, which there are other community organizations that can do the same thing, but the church should be one of the first lines of support, where returning citizens can know that they can go and they can find a friendly, welcoming person that's willing to just, not judge them, and to believe that they can stay out with support and love.
I absolutely agree, because if you can't go to your community church and get resources that is needed for success, or if you run into an issue, you may need a clergy to be able to come in and speak on your behalf, or just for a hug. You don't want people to stray away from you because of some things that you may have done that it's not the same as someone else, because all of us are different, and sometimes people get into things, and we all have certain faults and what have you and things. It's just some people have went to prison for theirs, and some of the things that we have done, it has not caused us to be able to go, behind bars. So all of us have some
That's
sort
right.
of fault that we're facing. So in regards to
And
mission,
sometimes we just don't know it. Oh, I just
yeah,
wanted to say that
true.
sometimes people,
No, go ahead.
if you think about your audience or people within the congregation, we just don't know what you've done. But with
Okay.
the returning citizen, we know. It's like they often say all the time when we were training, they said it's like the scarlet letter. It's like the word prison is written across their forehead. So everyone knows
Mhm.
because they have this felony that they have done these things, so then people can treat them, or they do treat them a certain kind of way. But we have
Mhm.
individuals that have done worse, and we're just unaware.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely, I most absolutely agree. And then you touched on the part that sometimes we're just selfish. It's not us and things like that. And so I guess it does not matter to some, or sometimes individuals don't feel the reason to be able to stretch out just a little bit, further for Mike,
Mhm.
Tom, or Susie, or what have you, because it's not in my household. This is not my problem that's going
Not
on
my
for me
issue.
right now.
That's
Exactly,
right.
exactly. Because, of course, when the individual had stated it to me, we're going to get in trouble. We know when we go into this courtroom, Mrs. Winbush, we know what's going to get ready to happen and what have you and things. And, of course, we have to have evidence on anybody. And so, as you stated, sometimes people have a lot of fear, and sometimes we can be lazy too. But if, with these organizations such as yours, and there are other organizations that walk also up into the courtroom, sometimes that will cause the judge to be able to be a little bit more mannerable and more structured.
Mhm. Right. Well,
Sometimes.
yes, because they see that support.
Exactly, exactly. And so, with the case last week and things, everybody, it was like it was 50-1, and so the individual was
Mm.
there, didn't have no family members to support him and what have you and things. I was there, and so one of the individuals that was in support for the family of what was going on, so she come up with a little notebook and things and said, "Oh, what is your name?" They want to know. She didn't even express herself as to saying who was they. She just, I never did give her my name or anything. I don't have to give you any. There's no gag order on this case. And so
Right.
sometimes if a person don't know, they would have went in there and submitted to her. First of all, you didn't even address yourself. You didn't even introduce yourself of who you were. Okay, and so you're just gonna walk up to someone else that you do not know with a pad in your hand, asking, "Who is this?" We're looking, trying to divide the witnesses from the people that it was nobody that was there for the individual, but what we were standing for and what have you. But I did not let them know that and what have you, because sometimes we have to be careful even with that, because sometimes people try to clear the courtroom, so that gives them the justice and the right to be able to say, twist the law, twist different other little things that they want to be able to twist and what have you. And so that's the reason why I did on that one. I kept quiet because I said there was no gag order on this case, and I'm not going to let you come here, address me that way and try to get information, and you don't have that authority or that that right to do that. So it's becoming like an epidemic, and I think it will continue to grow if we don't continue to combat this.
That's right. That's right. And it reminds me of one of the scriptures that we often use in Isaiah chapter 61, 1 and 2, where it talks about, preaching good tidings to the poor, healing the brokenhearted, proclaiming
Mhm.
liberties to those that are captive, but opening the
Mhm.
prison to those who are bound. And Diane, I
Mhm.
really believe that m- many of the people that are bound are those that are out in our communities. They are the
Yep.
ones that are bound by
Mhm.
their judgment and their
Mhm.
biases, their
Mhm.
anger, hatred that have sometimes been built up unwarranted, just maybe by something that
Mhm.
they've seen in the media that may not even be true. And so
Mhm.
it's really important that we continue to share and this platform that you're using, that you're talking about this. I'm so
Mhm.
grateful to you for doing this, because this
Mhm.
is telling, it's sharing the truth, it's helping individuals under the sound of our voices to know that they can be a part of change. They can help with the Reformation. It's not on someone else. It's not for somebody else to do. It's not your mission to mobilization is the only, or like you said, a handful of organizations that are focused on this. That each American can do something simply by thinking about where they shop. If when you shop at places that do not or that hire returning citizens or give them a second chance, then you're helping to change reform because you're moving with your dollars. If you look at your congregation and say, do we care? Can we take in returning citizens? We don't have to provide money to them. Can we just be a warm, welcoming place? Then they're a part of the Reformation that is critical, one person at a time. So I just, I'm glad. I'm glad that this platform is here and that you have a heart to want to see truth to be told.
Absolutely, because as you stated, sometimes the ones that are bound are the ones that actually don't have physical shackles, but the shackles are on the mindset, and so the purpose and the reason for that is because we're not applying what it is that we are reading, and sometimes some of the judges, sometimes it will be some of the prosecutors, it will be the defenders. They will sit right there and they will go to church every Sunday and look over because people don't, teach about it or minister about it. They'll look over the fact that, about the, being in the beware. I think one of the scriptures said, beware of how you entertain those in chains and bonds. That's another, scripture. But they'll look all over that, and sometimes we think that we're going to, heaven just because of our, our job status and what have you, and our good works. It's a little bit deeper than that. We have to be concerned. If we go to the book of Matthew and the book of John, we're getting a little Christian here, but actually, seriously, if we go to those two books, it will tell us that's the reason why that Christ is going to close the door on many, simply because we didn't feed, we didn't take care of the hungry, we didn't go visit those that was in chains and bonds, we did not do what we were supposed to do on a humble level. It's not about what we do where we're trying to be seen, where the cameras are showing, but what are we doing behind the scenes? And so I think that's what's going to, help. I mean, that's going to, trip a lot of people up, in the end. And just like I said, I'm not here to be judgmental.
Right. That's right. Yeah, no, thank you. And I was just having a conversation just the other day with someone that said, we were talking on this very point, they said, well, it's hard to be nice now because there's so many people that are doing bad things. You don't know who you can trust, and you don't know if they're going to if they're going to trick you, if they're just running a game on you, that kind of thing. And my response was, guess what? I mean, from a Christian standpoint, God is not going to say, "Oh, did you live in the time frame where you couldn't trust people?" No, you have to use discernment and still follow what you believe you're supposed to do according to God's word. And so maybe you're not walking down some dark alley. No, you're going to use wisdom around where you're going to go and what you're going to do. But you should be you should be discerning and thinking about the decisions that you're making to still be able to help those that are imprisoned or those that are sick, those that even taking in strangers. I think that's one of the hardest ones that people say, well, how can I take in a stranger? I don't know. This person could hit me or hurt me. You need to use wisdom. You should pray, and you could bring somebody with you. You could have some other people. If you really feel like that's what you're supposed to do, then there are means and ways for you to be able to accomplish your goals, because that is what is required.
Absolutely, because even with that, even if if a person is standing on the side of the road and they may have, I'm pretty sure they do it in all states where you'll see the people that are, standing up there with cardboard boxes with things written on it, give me this for a meal, or I'll work for this for a meal. Well, whether you help them or not, the person, God will deal with him or her, and
That's
things
right.
you
That's
do
right.
right, and your efforts will be praised by him. See, the reward comes from the Almighty above, and it's not about whether they trying to use you or they trying to see. He knows how to separate the difference between the right and the wrong, and even this sometimes we will be used, whether it's business,
That's
whether
right.
it's church, whether it's marketing, advertising, communications, media. Everybody is going to play the fool on this side, but the thing about it is we learn from it, and then if we may
That's right.
run into something later on down the road, and somebody tries to come in and try to say, well, I'm gonna get over on mission and to Mobilization, I'm gonna get over on them and things like that. Well, they're not actually getting over on you
No.
and what have you, because by you reaching your hand out and the door is open, and and allowing individuals to be able to come in to receive, is still going to be able to come all back to you. He'll have to deal with the individual, what have you down the road. So I just, that's
right.
the way
That's right. And you know what? And yes. And the other thought I was thinking as you were speaking is how there are a number of people that do not have faith. What would they say? That they don't have any affiliation to faith. And so, we want to speak to them as well, because what we believe is that you reap what you sow, and you can call it what you want in whatever religion you want to call it. That karma and all of that.
Karma, yeah.
Okay, right. What you give out is going to come back to you. And so my grandmother used to say this all the time. It's like, baby, just live. Just keep living. You're going to need somebody. There's going to be a situation where you're going to have a need to receive help or services, and you're going to want grace and mercy to be afforded to you. And I've seen it so many times, especially within the church, but outside too, where an individual is very judgmental about a returning citizen, and look at these kids. I'm sick of these kids, how they're acting. And then as soon as their child, has an issue, now you want us to be compassionate. Well, yes, we will be, but this is to the individual that is not affiliated with a church. That, as my grandmother said, just keep living. Just keep living. You're going to have a need, and you're going to want and need support.
Absolutely, absolutely. So with the last question, and this is the last question that I have, we're just about to run out of time. So take, for instance, if someone contacts you, if we're going to say from South Carolina, see, because even with what we do as CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs, all of us, we're just speaking as a total whole. So if they was to contact you and say, well, we want to be able to, we want to be able to have mission to mobilization to be able to come to the state of South Carolina and do a walk here.
Workshop.
Is that feasible for them? Workshop.
Yes, absolutely. And so we do that across the country, which it's a great way for either companies. So, individual companies, small or large, HR groups, leaders, or churches, community organizations, people that really have the mission and the foresight to think about how can we be a part of changing some of either our policies, the way our leaders think, our hiring practices within the church, the judgment. And so that the Walk a Month, which is the simulation that is 1 month in the life of a returning citizen, is an excellent way for individuals to be engaged. And but also the Buy for Returning Citizen campaign is another way that each individual can make a decision right now, especially or any time around holidays or just your buying practices. You think about how you're spending dollars, and you can go to our website to see what companies actually do give returning citizens second chances.
Absolutely. So, how can the listeners get in contact with you and any upcoming events that you have to be able to support prison reform? You can be able to do that at this time.
Yes. So we missionmobilization.com is our platform. We also are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and we have our podcast is on iTunes, Spotify, and about 10 other platforms. And so please visit us and share anything that you're hearing that we're doing. We'd love to support you as well.
Absolutely. We thank you so much for being our guest today. Second time around, we're going to try to make sure we get in contact with you again for 2020. So because this topic is very important, it's a hot button topic because issues continue to ring out and individuals are looking for answers. And so there are organizations such as yours to be able to answer questions that perhaps may be tedious for some. So for all upcoming events, listeners, you can go to our website at womenwhorockwithsuccess.com, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And again, once again, thank you so much, Sheila, and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Diane. You do the same. God bless you.
Women Who Rock with Success is a National Extraordinary Professional Women affiliate and a Girls Who Rock with Success affiliate as well. Go to our website for all upcoming events at www.womenwhorockwithsuccess.com.